So
That's so
this
cool.
one is Rich and Strange, and within it, you see obviously that moves. Oh, good, too shiny. That's where his eyes go. Um, Inside, your very own cardboard glasses, which you could then push out and wear if you wanted to. Never felt the urge myself. Um,
No? Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name is Andy, and the fellow over there is John, as most of you probably know. And if you don't, they're your introductions. We get together and we offer each other up songs to go off and listen to. And then one of us does just that. And then we come back and discuss it. And today, John is going to be handing me something to go listen to, and I'm going to give it a go. We're going to come back and chop it up. But, John, what do you have in store, buddy?
okay, the band is called Cud, as in chew the.
Okay, chew the cud. Okay, got you. All right. Yep. Nothing. No lights
Okay,
going off.
cool. So the track you'll be all too familiar with is called Love in a Hollow Tree.
Well, if I'm not familiar with the song, I'm certainly familiar with that sentiment. I mean, who hasn't stumbled along and
Yeah,
found love in an old dead tree? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm flying blind here, man. So
yeah.
let's hope I land this thing. Let me go off, give it a listen, and I'll come back and give you my thoughts. I know we're like early days here, but just the not the motif that's being played, but just the tone of the guitar is giving like, and I don't know if it's because I've been listening to a lot of them recently. I have over the past week, but it's giving me a lot of like Robert Smith, The Cure kind of guitar tone vibes, which is never a bad thing. I love that sound. It is such, to me, it is such a distinct sound. Um, there's plenty of musicians who, when you just hear a little snippet of them, you almost know exactly who you're listening to without being given any information. And the Cure, the guitar in the Cure is definitely for me one of them. So I can almost always point or pick out Robert Smith's playing, especially as it relates to when he was in the Cure. And this has that tone to it, or the sort of affectation to it. Now, again, the motif being played on it, not so much. Also, the bass isn't really, the bass is a little bit thuddier than what I'm used to. But I like it. It's working so far. But yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, 14 seconds into this thing, so let's see where we go. It's like a lounge croon. Pretty guitar work. pretty. Oh, that was great. I want to hear that lead again. I really liked it. It was different, right? Like I think John had mentioned this a while ago on a song that I'd given him, where it was the lead was kind of accented in that song at the end by like this kind of chord. Um, this the ending is a little different for this lead, but there are times where like this chord comes in and kind of accents the lead a little bit, and I don't know, it just kind of gives it some texture and a little something else. So yeah, let's take that back. I'd like from the moment those chimes came into the that little guitar portion, that was really really pretty. Yeah, these words are lost on me. Like the song is like stretching. A little psychedelic. Mm, yeah, yeah. Musically, I really, really enjoyed this. It kind of had that funky little snare hi hat, like kind of driven drum beat, which is kind of fun. And certainly kept pace, right? His and I say musically, and I don't mean I didn't. I did enjoy his vocals. The lyrics, I didn't. I no sense were made of those lyrics. I don't understand how one could find love in a hollow tree, but maybe John can fill in those gaps for me when I catch up. But this, yeah, all the beautiful guitar work, kind of this echoey nature to things. His voice very croony, particularly during the chorus. Yeah, kind of like lounge croon. I thought that was kind of funny and an interesting choice, but it sounded good, so I liked it. Yeah, this was super odd from a lyrical standpoint, and even odd, but in the best way musically. It was just really fun and interesting. They didn't, do anything crazy, um, but it was just interesting choices were made from his vocal delivery. Um, to these really beautiful, echoey kind of guitars. Um, and some really fun like that lead work after those beautiful chime sounds came in. All of it, added up to be a really great listen for me. I've never heard of this band at all. Let me reemphasize that. So God knows what the rest of their oeuvre sounds like, but this was an interesting first introduction to them. I definitely enjoyed it. But hopefully, along with the lyrical content or the meaning therein, John can fill all those gaps and more when I reconvene. So let's do that now.
Well, now you're back from the good ship Cud. How did you find your crossing?
I would say that I don't know if I found love in a hollow tree, but I definitely found a lot of interest in this hollow tree.
That's how it
Right out of the
starts.
Yeah, I mean, hey, not bad for one go, and it's it's definitely different, and it's got its own little things going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Particularly the gentleman who is the front man of the outfit here. But right out of the gate, you get the now. I don't know if this is because I've gone back and been listening to them over the last week or 10 days, and they're kind of like in my crawl, but the tone, the effect of the guitar, not so much the motif, but just the effect on this guitar reminded me of a lot of Robert Smith and The Cure, this kind of echoey guitar kind of sound that The Cure would tinker around with. Definitely, it took me right to Robert Smith for some reason. The bass, however, not so much. The bass had more of this, and I enjoyed the sort of forward presence of the bass in the song, but it had kind of this thudding quality to the sound, and it's a stark contrast to the melodic, slightly echoey nature of that guitar I just spoke of. So the drums in the verse are I'm noticing now are very like hi hat and snare driven. They got a little bit of a funky beat to it. So the chorus begins, and the singer slides into an almost like lounge like crooning delivery. I can almost imagine him snapping his fingers while singing this portion. I actually enjoy that too, and I think it adds a bit of character and charm to the sound. It's almost and it kind of almost makes sense given the kind of swinging nature that the beat has during the chorus. So it makes sense to me, even if it's interesting and a little different. I'm enjoying when he delivers the titular line throughout the song. For the most part, there is this like accompanying splash on the cymbal and a more pronounced guitar chord, just slightly gives a little punch for emphasis. So it seems like very well timed that they do this all as he's saying the title of the track. Around the 207 mark, the guitar provides some lovely sustained ambient and higher registered sounds that provide this added dimension to the song. And then we get another sound or mechanism that I instantly associate with The Cure. I've been listening to too much of The Cure, though it's admittedly universal than it is exclusive to just them. And it's this chiming sound around the 218 mark that sort of cascades over the canvas of the song. And it acts perfectly as this sort of musical line of demarcation in a shift of the music and what's to come, because now we get this really nice lead work that only gets better as it progresses. And every so often, there's this tasteful little chord strum or arpeggio that's peppered in, that's kind of accents the lead and keeps it fresh, almost like a sonic palette cleanser. And then there's this ending bit to the lead motif, where like there's this 4 or 5 note sort of like ascending little motif, and that just made me chuckle, just because it sounds, I don't know, it's got a funny sound to it. And around the 343 marker or so, the song becomes almost psychedelic sounding with more of this ambient guitar sound, and things become echoey and dreamy. And the vocal delivery is a little faint. And it's almost like the song and everything's kind of stretching a little bit, like a cat waking up from a nap or something. And it continues the vocals could continue to become more distant and faint until we are left with just this sort of resonant guitar sounds, before the song comes to a complete halt there. And I made very little, and by little I mean no, sense of the lyrics at all. So despite that, I really enjoyed the sonic landscape that they created. And it wasn't anything groundbreaking, but it didn't have to be. And rarely at this point, things are really that groundbreaking. It's just a matter of do you like it or do you don't? Not. And I do like this. So yeah, I'm just going to need you to provide context about the lyrics, and then obviously about this band with this interesting name that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I chose this one. It's quite atypical of their sound actually, but
Oh,
I thought it was just a nice change of pace. They're an indie rock band, and they have a certain danceable groove to them as well for a lot of their
mm,
songs. Some of their remixes are really nice, and then they went a bit poppy. But I just love, as you say, that dreamy quality to the guitar lead and solo. It's just lovely. So I
mhm.
just thought it'd be something a bit sort of different, change of pace. It's not different in terms of you've never heard this before, but compared to what we normally listen to.
Yes.
And there are certain elements to this, like his voice, which can be polarizing, and the way he looks, and the way he acts, and the things he does, and the things he
Oh.
says. Apart from that, what's not to like? I'm joking. So, Third, they're an interesting band, and I'll get into how I got into them. But they're an English indie band formed in Leeds, although apparently none of them are actually from Leeds. I think they must have met at uni. 1987 through to 1995, and then again reformed in 2006, sporadically doing bits and pieces until present. So you heard the dulcet tones of Carl Putnam on vocals. He he is a bit sort of an appearance, a bit Mick Hucknall-esque. So mass of curly red hair.
Mm.
Mark Dunphy on guitar and keyboards, William Potter on bass, and Steve Goodwin drums. So their first ever recording was a Peel session.
Oh, okay.
They sent a demo tape into John Peel, and he said, "Come in, lads." After they sort of built a strong local fan base through certain singles and EPs that were very minor, they signed to Imaginary Records in '89, who released the two albums "When in Rome, Kill Me" 1989 and "Leggy Mambo" 1990. Leggy Mambo was produced by XTC's Dave Gregory, and it was a real significant step forward for the band compared to their earlier works. Um, they had two singles off the album that teetered at the conference end of the charts. Robinson Crusoe creeped in at number 86, and Magic, with a hugely funky dance remix, slouched in at number 80. Um, and you do find it on like compilation sort of Manchester stuff and that sort of that groovy indie dance that we talked about so much. That's one of the tunes that gets whacked in there. And I'm quite fond of it, I have to say. Um, the choice of songs I was going to pick, because I knew I was going to give you something off this album, was going to be this or a song called "Oh Water," and I went for the more softer. I should have perhaps on hindsight gone for "Oh Water." It was more of a driving, almost sort of funky, but that funk and that danceable nature that you spoke about, the bass, and you got a feel of that.
Mm.
They expand that, and they're so a little bit on this album, or a lot on the next two albums. Um, but yeah, I mean, they were a weird band because they weren't particularly loved by the music press, and so they didn't really make the splash which they could have done. They fit the criteria and the sound of a lot of other British bands that actually made or semi-made it in the early '90s.
Now,
But
was their tumultuous relationship with the music press like a product of their own, actions, or was it just they
no, I don't
the
think
press
so.
and
I just think they pick favorites, and
oh,
certain
okay, yeah,
bands
yeah.
they've really pushed, and they would, it might be management, it might be freebies, it might be backhanders, could be anything.
Mhm.
But there's a review of the album from All Music. It says Motown raves up, funk-inspired grooves and pop hooks all happily blend together. Carl Putnam somehow finds himself as the best descendant of Tom Jones around, able to project with skill, dripping with charisma, and never missing a step. The
Yeah.
calmer arrangements of songs like Love in a Hollow Tree demonstrate a growing ability to try out more unexpected approaches, and that indicates it's not quite their sort of signature sound. Um, I'll go into the lyrics, which don't lose any sleep over, honestly. They're pretty much nonsense. Um, now talk a bit more about the song and sort of bits how it fits in, because this is interesting stuff. She's the chief toast in town when all the others are gone, but she's still around. But butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, and cheese would probably choke her. Love in a hollow tree, love in a hollow tree. If he be hanged, he'll come a hopping. If she be drowned, she'll come a dropping. Love in a hollow tree, love in a hollow tree. I'm so full of love, I'm fit to burst. You made me drunk enough, but I still have a thirst. My goodness is going out. Won't you stop, give me a clue to what it's all about? Tell me about it. Love in a hollow tree, love in a hollow tree. If he be hanged, he'll come a hopping. If she be drowned, she'll come a dropping. Love in a hollow tree, love in a hollow tree. And then that lovely guitar break. And it comes back in. She's so sweet, toasted almonds. I want to dress you up all in polka dot salmon. She's so sweet, toasted almonds. I want to dress you up in polka dot salmon. Love in a hollow tree, love in a hollow tree. I think you can guess the rest. Hanged, hop in, drowned, drop in, love, hollow tree. Many more times. He then drops the love, and it's just in a hollow tree, fade out. There you go.
What the fuck?
Yeah. He just picked an image. He thought that's cool. Sounds good, doesn't it? Polka
Well,
dot
now
salmon,
I'm thinking that
twisted almonds.
he references almonds and then talks about, and when it's in the song, when I was hearing, I was thinking, oh, polka dots and the color salmon. But now I'm thinking, oh, almonds, and then I want to dress you up in some fish. Like, oh god, wild,
Well,
wild stuff.
there's in this country there is a huge amount of pubs called the Oak or called the King's Head, and it's to do with the fact that apparently Charles I hid in a hollow tree on his run. I don't think he found love.
Yeah,
Yeah. But anyway, no, he found the edge of an executioner's blade. Yeah. So after this album, they signed with A&M Records, and it was a major push, and they had the money behind them. They wrote their next album, Asquarius, in 1992. It saw relative success. It got to number 30 in the album charts, and they have 3 singles hit the top 40, but all in the upper echelons of the top 40. The band were labeled with the proto Britpop genre label Lion Pop. But for once, Enemy did not further construct a scene around that term, so Cud missed out on the Britpop fame in the mid-90s. Their last album, Showbiz, hit number 46 in 94, and the band broke up in early 95. They reformed for an anthology release in 2006 and toured to support it, and then they continued to gig on and off, and releasing singles in 2013, 2015, 2021, 2022, but they're all like single issue tracks. There was no bulk to their work. Now, there was an album, there was a magazine in the late 80s called Deadline, which I believe we might have spoken about, I'm not sure. It featured a number of comic strips and articles as well on music and culture. And the 2 main guys that came from it, let me just grab this. A chap called, you may have heard of him, Jamie Hewlett, and Philip Bond. Hewlett became famous for Tank Girl. This is the first edition of Deadline, mostly. Yeah. There's Tank Girl there.
Okay, yeah, now it's all coming back to me, this conversation.
Now, Bond had a strip called Wired World featuring 2 sort of flatmate young girls, and all the characters each week that they bumped into or met down the pub or whatever, all used to have T-shirts on of his favorite bands. So in the flat they lived in, there was a big poster behind saying "Document," and the next door neighbor always wore an REM T-shirt. And I got to see, there was a Ned's Atomic Dustbin, Wonder Stuff, all sorts of stuff, and I saw Cud quite a bit in that, and in Jamie Hewitt's Tank Girls, people wearing Cud. I will try and show you this. It's not great for the camera, but there we go. So this is Tank Girl, and let's just see if you can see the guy there.
Yeah,
he's wearing a Cud t-shirt, and that sparked my interest. So I went off and got, that's the power of comics. I went off and got the album, and I loved it. So. Yeah, Bond worked with Cud on designs for some of their releases, and Hewlett also worked with Cud and Senseless Things before developing Gorillaz with his flatmate, Alburn. Just to say, Here we go. This is interesting. So this is Senseless Things album, which is
Yeah,
pretty much
it's
everything
great looking.
before Gorilla's fame, and you can instantly recognize his style.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
one thing, Cud have always had a good sense of humor. I have to be a bit careful here. Not in terms of content, but in terms of handling this. So they brought out a number of 12 inches that had really interesting stuff. So
That's so
this
cool.
one is Rich and Strange, and within it, you see obviously that moves. Oh, good, too shiny. That's his eyes go. Um, Inside, your very own cardboard glasses, which you could then push out and wear if you wanted to. Never felt the urge myself.
No? Oh man.
No, surprisingly, I won't put it back in for now. I'll just drop it. Um, then they went one better. So this is 12-inch for Through the Roof, which is actually one of my favorite songs of theirs. It's a sort of funky, sort of acoustic guitar based sort of number. And they included this. Actually, yeah, some of this tried coming apart on me. It's your very own cardboard cut house, and you can construct it. There's the instructions on how to build it, and there's the roof. There's the bits you can push out, and this is the sides with the house of mum and dad, yeah, baby toddler, and there's it. So again, never quite felt the need, but not to be outdone on a non-album single. This is quite a funny song, quite funky. It's called My Purple Love Balloon. Yes, this is before emojis, so yeah, they weren't messing.
They were so ahead of their
But
time.
yeah, definitely. And what you got in this was a free mobile, as in the thing that you hang for children
Uh-huh.
above there. And yes, here is the images from their Purple Love Balloon mobile, and various members of the band. That is Carl Putnam there. Let me get it so that you see his
The
ginger.
mop of red hair, yes.
Yeah. And there's the rest of the band floating around in
Nice.
various states of whatever. And I can't say that I bought it just because of them, but it didn't harm.
But they played their
But
part,
it's
huh?
fun, it's quite hilarious. So yeah, they were a decent band. They're not a fantastic band. I do love this album though. The
Yeah.
first three tracks are just blinding. They're quite indie, stuff to them. And then, as I say, Robinson Crusoe's decent. Magic's really nice. This track and Oh Water, I think, is fantastic. So it's well worth the shout for anyone who likes that sort of indie stuff. His voice can be polarizing, to be honest with you, but I quite like it.
I can see how it can be, but for me, it is not.
Yeah.
I think it at least in this track, it felt like it fit when he really went for it. The music
Yes.
was kind of lending itself to that.
The only problem is when you get videos which see them performing, he looks a bit of a gimp, with his big ginger hair bouncing around all over the place. Especially when they're on stage singing My Purple Love Balloon, it's quite off-putting. And he was a bit of a character, as I say. So there's a story here about it. Apparently, Carl was once 2 weeks late to their own recording session for an album, and his excuse was that his front door had been stolen. A few days later, he went missing again for 2 days, and when he arrived back, the guitarist asked him where the fuck he'd been this time. Carl's reply was that I stepped out my front door to come to the studio and walked through the centre of Leeds, and I bumped into Bob Dylan. At which point the guitarist knocked him out. It seems even the band were divided over whether they like the singer or not.
Yeah. Sounds like it could be a bit frustrating when he's jacking up your schedule that bad.
Yeah. So there you go. But that's a nice little slice of early 90s sort of guitar-y stuff there. And yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
expect it to move mountains, but something a little bit different.
that's
And
good
for
listen.
the 8 people who watch this, I'm sure they'll thoroughly enjoy it. Right, I shall wrap things up and say thanks for listening to this, Andy.
Thank
Folks
you.
out there, any fans of Cud? Speak up louder, I can't hear. Any fans of Cud? Let us know. Drop some comments. Tell us what you think about this track. If you like this, do hit the like button. And we do love hearing from you. So let your opinions be known on this or any other tracks or any other flamehead singers of soul that you can think of. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Help support the channel. We're moving on up, as them people would say. And what have you done today to make yourself proud? Ask yourself that. Anyway, I'll stop now. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.